Hi, my name is Mark Biernot, and I'm getting a PhD in economics, specifically monetary economics. And in this video, I'm going to talk about, are digital currencies an alternative to the US dollar? Will they ever be a viable alternative, and do they have a future? So first, a little bit of background. Digital currencies, as you know, are currencies that are not supported by governments, specifically like the US government or any government around the world, but rather they're using a blockchain technology, and it's a private currency. So one of the reasons to use a private currency is that it is an alternative currency. And there are two motivations to use an alternative currency. One, you want to remain anonymous, or you do something legal or illegal. But two, the conceptual reason, at least economists like it, and I initially liked it, was alternative currencies provide competition for the US dollar. It can break the monopoly of the central bank or the Federal Reserve over the currency. Right now, the main issue is in the US, but all around the world, that central banks expand the money supply. Generally, in the last video, I showed you how it's decreasing right now, but generally the money supply is increasing to fund budgetary gaps. So there's three solutions to create a monetary anchor or monetary restraint on any government. And that would be, one, a classical gold standard. Not necessarily likely at this juncture, because it requires often a lot of international cooperation and political discipline to adhere to it. People just go off it. Option number two is a balanced budget amendment, an amendment to the Constitution that says the government must have a balanced budget every 1 or 4 years or on a cycle. You need a lot of political will for that. Option number three is competing currencies. When you have a competing currency in circulation and use, then the Federal Reserve has an incentive to maintain the value, or else people will jettison that currency and go to the alternative currency. After the American Revolution, Spanish pieces of 8 were used as an alternative currency. And if you remember that the stock market used to be quoted in eighths as a legacy of the Spanish pieces of 8. So we do have a historical precedence both for the gold standard and alternative currencies. And they're all, from time to time, they bounce around with this balanced budget amendment. But alternative currencies new life was breathed into that idea with the rise of technology, Bitcoin technology, and the blockchain. Why is it not going to be a viable alternative, probably ever, to the US dollar or any other currency out there, or a viable alternative for the average person? The reason is simple. Digital currency is an asset. It's classified as an asset. Now, if you go back to Carl Menger, in the latter 1800s, the Austrian economist, he qualified money as something that everybody universally agrees as money, and it's accepted as money. Store of value, medium of exchange, and the unit of account. The problem is the IRS, under code 2014-21, defines it as an asset. And the implications are, if somebody gives me Bitcoin, I probably have to report that as income. If I gift somebody Bitcoin or a digital currency, any of them, I will have to probably pay some sort of gift tax. And the worst case scenario is if I buy a pack of bubble gum with a digital currency, that's a capital gains. Capital gains is horrible. Now, you say, okay, the asset, the digital currency appreciated in value, so what am I crying about? What am I worrying about? I was an accountant much of my life, and the accounting for capital gains is a nightmare if you're doing it personally. Every time you do a transaction online, you buy something, then you have to account for capital gains. You have to go back to the original cost basis. Okay, if you landed, let's say, $1 million in digital currency, and you have a distinct cost basis, then you can fill it out in Libra or Excel or some spreadsheet, or you have some accounting, or you have some company, third party on the line. You can calculate these cost bases. It still makes a complication when you're doing your tax return. It also raises red flags for audits. And you have to realize that the power of the IRS and this 2014-21 is basically it stunts and stifles any type of opportunity in the future for alternative currencies. I could hold, for example, euro or Great British pound, but I still have to pay capital gains on that. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I probably think it's actually correct. But it doesn't address that doesn't dampen the power of the Federal Reserve or the central bank. Because if I have to pay capital gains on these things, then nothing's okay. So what about digital wallets like PayPal, Google Pay, Apple, and then we have like Twitter, X, Elon Musk coming out with his new alternative banking probably in the future. What about this? These are denominated in US dollars. I use PayPal, for example. It's no big deal. So I don't have to pay capital gains specifically on the unit of account. And I know it seems like a technicality, but it's the biggest technicality why digital currencies will never become a viable alternative to traditional government currencies. And you might ask, well, what about the US digital currency, the US digitalization of the dollar? This is really basically a dollar. It's a derivative of a dollar, and it functions as a dollar. I'd probably use it. You say, well, they're invading your privacy. They can track you. Some guy the other day, I met him downtown, and we were just talking, and he likes to jet ski, water ski, travel. He asked me what my hobbies were. I said, well, I'm working on a PhD, and I like organic gardening, and I play chess. I almost was going to say I enjoy going to church, which I do. Why would I care that somebody tracks me to that extent in my transactions? That I buy some, organic alfalfa to throw in my garden? There's nothing really I'm doing that would raise any eyebrows. And so that questions, are you a person that likes legality or illegality? I like legality. And so for the vast majority of people, they do also like and follow the laws. If I live in this country and I'm a citizen of the country and I enjoy the benefits of this country, then I don't have a problem with paying the taxes. If you want to restrain spending, that's another story. And I am a monetary, fiscally conservative economist in the sense that I believed in some sort of balanced budget. I just don't think it's going to appear from digital currencies. Maybe competing currencies if, national currencies like the euro as a quasi-national, transnational currency, or the Great British pound were accepted. But I just don't believe that it was trendy. And now BlackRock is going to create an ETF, an index fund out of digital currencies. It'll just become another asset class. And you might say, well, that's an asset class that has a lot of value. Well, it's not a productive asset. It's not like, I invest in Google where people are actually using creative minds and technologies to invent new things and create value. It's just an asset. It's just like land. Raw land, matter of fact, or gold. It's not an asset that produces anything. The advantage is, it does have an advantage that, in Bitcoin, the total amount of supply is stagnant. And in fact, that's probably going down because a lot of people lose their Bitcoin or it vaporizes, it goes into the cyberspace. You don't know where it goes. Even I have some Bitcoin. In 10 years, will I be able to access it? I don't know. I'll forget my passwords and all these other things with the crypto wallet. So it probably can make the argument if it's going down, the economy is growing, it will increase in value. But you have to factor in other factors, like there's a multitude of digital currencies that in de facto expands the digital currency money supply. So it is increasing the money supply. So it's not necessarily the best asset. If I was going to invest in a property asset, like an alternative to the US dollar, me personally, I would do species, gold or silver. Why not gold? Just buy a gold coin. It has always worked. It will continue to work. And arguably gold has some manufacturing or industrial value to it. Ludwig van Mises in the 1950s, very foreseeing, he said there might be some time we'd be able to manufacture gold. And that's true with a particle accelerator, but it's not cost effective. So again, digital currencies, all the right check marks for why you should use it and a future. But the big monkey wrench in the digital currency future is the IRS taxing it as a capital gains every time you do a transaction. Every time you buy something, it's over. Thank you very much. Have a great day.